When you walk through Los Angeles right now, you can feel it in the air before anyone says a word. It's in the silence between conversations, in the hurried steps of people crossing the street, in the tired eyes of shopkeepers and teachers and bus drivers. It's not just tension, it's emotional truth trying to speak through the noise. Fear is real here. Not the kind that comes from watching a scary movie or reading a headline. It's the kind that keeps parents up at night wondering if their family will still be together tomorrow. It's the kind that sits heavy in the stomachs of kids, hearing helicopters overhead and wondering what it all means. That fear isn't weakness, it's honesty, it's data. It's the body's way of saying, something isn't right. Anger is real too, and justified. People are furious about the sweeping federal decisions that ignore local voices, about the military trucks in their neighborhoods, about the friends and neighbors taken away without warning. But that anger isn't just rage. It's grief's armor. It's the shield that forms when dignity has been trampled, when voices have been silenced for too long. Anger is love's public protest. You don't get angry about things you don't care deeply about. There's also shame, quiet, creeping shame in the hearts of people who feel helpless, who feel like they should be doing more, saying more, fighting harder. But shame thrives in silence. And it dissipates the moment we name it and sit with it. Not alone, but together. These emotions, fear, anger, shame, are not signs that something is broken in us. They're signs that something is broken around us. And when we listen to them, not dismiss or suppress them, they become powerful truth tellers. They guide us to what matters. They expose injustice. They point us toward compassion. So instead of asking, why are people so emotional, let's ask, what are these emotions trying to show us? Because when a city collectively feels this much, when people are crying, shouting, aching, and showing up anyway, that's not chaos. That's truth rising to the surface. And truth, as hard as it is to face, is the first step toward healing. In times like this, when fear is loud and the future feels like a question mark, connection becomes more than comfort. It becomes a source of power, a lifeline, a quiet rebellion against the forces that want us to stay small, silent, and divided. In Los Angeles, you can see this power emerging everywhere, even in the most unexpected places. It's in the hands held tightly at vigils, in the shared chants on courthouse steps, in the makeshift neighborhood food pantries stocked by strangers. It's in the way teachers are reaching out to students' families with more than homework. They're checking on their safety, their mental health, their humanity. It's in the growing number of people showing up to community meetings, even when they're exhausted, even when they're scared. That's the thing about connection. It doesn't erase pain, but it helps carry it. When someone says, you're not alone, what they're really saying is, your pain matters. I won't let you carry it by yourself. And that matters deeply in a moment like this. Because what's happening isn't just political, it's deeply personal. Families are being separated, lives are being disrupted, trust in institutions is being shaken. And while no one person can fix that overnight, connection says, we're in this together. I see you, I stand with you. There's power in that kind of solidarity, not just symbolic power, real, tangible power. It shows up in the form of coalitions between faith groups, labor unions, and immigrant advocates. It shows up when city council members speak truth to federal authority, not alone, but backed by thousands of community voices. It shows up when athletes, artists, and influencers use their platforms not for self-promotion, but for collective protection. And make no mistake, this kind of connection is a threat to systems built on fear and isolation. Because when people feel seen and supported, they stop shrinking. They speak louder, they resist harder, they believe in their own worth and in each other's. Connection isn't a luxury. It's not soft or sentimental. It's strategic. It's sacred. It's the one thing that oppressive systems can't replicate or control. So while the headlines scream about division and danger, look closer. Underneath the fear, there's a heartbeat of resilience. There's a network of people leaning into each other instead of away. And that's where the power is. Not in perfection, but in proximity, in listening, in locking arms. Because when we remember that we belong to each other, we become unstoppable. There's something sacred and deeply unsettling about witnessing vulnerability unfold in public. Not staged vulnerability, not something polished for press conferences or Instagram feeds, but real, raw, unscripted human emotion. The kind that makes your breath catch in your throat. Los Angeles is experiencing a season of public vulnerability like few others in recent memory. A senator dragged from a press conference while pleading for justice. A teenage girl standing with shaking hands filming immigration raids outside her apartment. A mother sobbing outside a federal courthouse clutching the last photograph of her husband. These aren't political theater. These are people breaking open under the weight of systems too heavy for one person to carry alone. In a culture that teaches us to be strong, composed, and in control, vulnerability looks like weakness, but that's a lie. Vulnerability is what happens when we allow ourselves to be seen in our full humanity, especially when the stakes are high. And right now in LA, the stakes are everything: freedom, safety, family, identity, belonging. When people stand up and speak through their trembling voices or cry on live TV or fall to their knees in protest, not because it's strategic, but because it's the only thing their heart can do, that's not weakness. That's truth refusing to be hidden. What we're witnessing is courageous exposure, and it's contagious. When one person risks being vulnerable in public, it gives the rest of us permission to do the same. It softens the armor we wear every day just to survive. It says you don't have to pretend you're okay when you're not. You don't have to go numb to be respected. This matters because our public spaces have too often been dominated by power performances, loud voices posturing behind microphones, armored vehicles lined up in the street, decisions made behind closed doors. But now, the most powerful moments are happening in the open, in the unpolished, unfiltered expressions of people who are tired of pretending. Of course, vulnerability without safety is dangerous, and many Angelenos are putting themselves at risk just by being seen, by telling the truth, by protesting, by existing, but they do it anyway, not because it's safe, but because it's necessary. There's an invitation here for all of us to stop hiding behind detachment or cynicism, to let our hearts break when we see injustice and then use that brokenness as fuel for action, to hold space for one another's pain publicly and without shame. Because if we only show up when we're strong, we miss the point. What's being asked of us right now is not perfection, but presence, not polished statements, but human honesty. So when you see someone cry at a rally or freeze mid-sentence in front of a camera or tremble while telling their truth, don't look away, don't minimize it. Witness it, honor it, and then ask yourself, where am I being called to show up, not in strength, but in truth? Because public vulnerability is not just brave, it's a blueprint. It shows us how to keep going. Together, there comes a point in every city, every movement, every life, when comfort can no longer be the goal. Los Angeles is at that point right now. The people of this city are being asked a painful question. Will you choose what is easy or what is right? Comfort is staying quiet because speaking up might cost you something. Comfort is watching things unfold from a distance, telling yourself someone else will take care of it. Comfort is choosing the illusion of peace over the reality of justice. But real change, real justice, that never grows out of comfort. Right now, thousands in LA are stepping into discomfort on purpose. Protesters are walking into streets knowing they might be arrested, tear gassed, vilified. Lawyers are working 20-hour days to protect people they've never met. Faith leaders are opening their sanctuaries knowing it puts them on government watch lists. Students are organizing walkouts instead of pretending everything is fine in the classroom. These aren't comfortable choices, they are courageous ones. Courage doesn't mean the fear is gone, it means you're moving forward anyway. It's standing in the storm and saying, this matters more than my safety, more than my image, more than my convenience. But here's the hard truth. Our culture doesn't reward courage unless it comes with a clean ending. We love heroes after they win, but real courage is messy, it's vulnerable, it doesn't always get applause, sometimes it gets arrested, sometimes it gets fired, sometimes it gets deeply misunderstood, and still, people show up. Because deep down, we all know comfort is not where healing lives. Growth lives in discomfort. Transformation lives in discomfort. Justice, equity, truth, they are always waiting for us on the other side of discomfort. This moment in Los Angeles is asking all of us to take stock. What are we willing to risk? What truth are we afraid to say out loud? Where are we hiding behind comfort and calling it neutrality? It's not enough to just not be racist or not be complicit. This isn't about not doing harm. It's about choosing to do good, even when it costs you. And yes, courage can be loud and public, but it also happens in quieter places. The woman calling her city council for the first time. The man telling his co-workers the raids are wrong. The child asking, why is this happening to our neighbors, and being met with honesty, not avoidance. Courage shows up differently for each of us, but the point is it shows up, and we need it now more than ever. If you're waiting to feel ready or smart enough or brave enough, you'll wait forever. Courage isn't a feeling, it's a decision to walk through fear instead of around it. Because real change is born when ordinary people choose discomfort over denial, action over apathy, courage over comfort. The tension of safety versus overreach. One of the hardest truths to hold is this: safety means different things to different people. For some in Los Angeles right now, safety means the presence of law enforcement, visible authority, military presence on city blocks. It means structure, order, someone in charge. But for others, and right now for many, that same presence feels like a threat. It feels like surveillance, like intimidation, like something to survive rather than something that protects. This is the tension, raw, uncomfortable, deeply human. We are watching a city wrestle with it in real time. Federal forces have entered Los Angeles under a national directive, in some cases against the will of local and state leaders. Armed troops walk past public libraries. Helicopters hover over school zones. Protesters are met with riot gear even when they are holding nothing but signs and conviction. And the question echoing through neighborhoods, courtrooms, and news feeds is, who gets to feel safe? Because if your version of safety requires someone else's silence, someone else's displacement, someone else's fear, then it's not safety, it's control. There is a dangerous temptation, especially in moments of public unrest, to equate peace with compliance. To say if people would just calm down, this would all go away. But that's not peace, that's suppression. That's trading justice for quiet. True safety isn't the absence of disruption, it's the presence of justice. It's people feeling seen, heard, and protected, not policed into silence. And here's where the tension deepens. Some of the very institutions designed to protect have been the source of trauma. For many immigrant families, for Black and brown communities, for youth and undocumented individuals, uniforms and authority don't feel like a shield. They feel like a warning sign. They trigger memories of raids, separations, profiling, and systemic violence. So when more force shows up, it doesn't bring relief, and it brings re-traumatization. This doesn't mean we don't need structure. It doesn't mean chaos is the answer, but it does mean we have to ask hard questions. Who decides what safety looks like? Who is listened to in that process? Who is protected and who is punished? It's easier to look away from these questions. It's easier to say it's complicated and move on. But people are being arrested, detained, silenced right now, and choosing to stay neutral in this moment is not neutrality. It's a position, it's a choice to accept the status quo. We cannot afford that. If we want a city where everyone feels safe, then we need to start building systems that are rooted in dignity, not dominance, in transparency, not secrecy, in shared power, not unchecked force. This will take time and trust and an unflinching willingness to name the harm that's already been done. But it starts by understanding this: safety and overreach are not the same thing. We must stop pretending they are. And we must have the courage to create something better, not just for ourselves, but for every neighbor, every child, every Angelino whose voice has been pushed to the margins. Because safety built on fear will never hold, but safety built on justice just might. Hope, a radical act. Hope is not naive. Hope is not passive. Hope is not soft. Hope is one of the bravest choices we can make, especially in moments like this. Right now, Los Angeles is carrying so much pain. People are marching for justice while mourning lost family members. Kids are asking questions their parents don't know how to answer. Immigrant communities are holding their breath not because they broke a law, but because their humanity is being questioned in public view. It would be easy to let despair win. It would be easy to scroll past the headlines and go numb, to decide that nothing ever changes, that the system is too big, the hate too loud, the fear too deep. And honestly, that feeling is valid. That exhaustion is real. But here's the radical truth. Choosing hope in the face of injustice is not weakness, it's rebellion. It's rebellion against cynicism, against apathy, against every message that says this is just how it is. Hope says, no, we can do better than this. We deserve better than this. And in Los Angeles, we are seeing hope everywhere if we're paying attention. It looks like volunteers showing up at 6 IE meals to provide meals to families hiding from ICE. It looks like teenagers handing out water bottles at protests, offering kindness in the middle of chaos. It looks like public defenders who could make more money elsewhere, but choose instead to fight for people who've been forgotten by the system. Hope lives in action. Hope lives in the mother teaching her children their rights in 2 languages so they'll know they belong no matter what. It lives in the young man singing at a candlelight vigil even though his voice shakes. It lives in the survivor who stands up and says, this happened to me and I still believe in justice. Hope doesn't ignore pain. It looks pain in the eye and says, you don't get to have the final word. And that's what makes it radical. Because systems of oppression are sustained by hopelessness. They thrive when people believe nothing will ever change, when they stay silent, when they stop imagining what's possible. But hope disrupts that. Hope is the spark that starts a movement. It's the thing that gets us out of bed when grief tells us to stay down. It's the quiet insistence that we are still worthy of dignity, of joy, of safety. And yes, hope is exhausting. It asks a lot of us. It keeps us tender in a world that wants us to grow hard. But without it, we lose the thread. We forget that progress has always come from people who were told their dreams were impossible and chose to believe anyway. So in this moment, when Los Angeles feels bruised and burning and breathless, let us not mistake survival for surrender. Let us remember that every act of protest, every petition, every donation, every story told, every truth spoken, every moment of presence is an act of hope, and let us honor that. Because choosing hope in times of despair isn't just beautiful, it's contagious, it's necessary, and it might just be what saves us.